What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Optimize You. We appreciate you joining us today. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe. We drop them every Tuesday and Thursday. Today we have a starting sloppy, and this is going to be on meal prep. So it's something we definitely have talked about on the podcast a decent amount, but we wanted to just record a podcast on how you can start sloppy with meal prep. I know a lot of people struggle with nutrition. It's probably one of the biggest game changers when it comes to any sort of health and fitness goal is being able to alter your nutrition. And what I've found is that the thing that makes me the most successful is when I meal prep or have food available that's quality, right? It's going to get me away from going out and grabbing fast food. It's going to get me away from always going out and eating. It's going to save a lot of money. I've saved tons and tons of money doing meal prep on a regular basis. But what we want to talk about today is just how you can start with this, different approaches to meal prep that maybe you can try, and how you can start to just be able to use the trial and error method to find what approach is going to work best for you, or what approaches are going to work best for you to set yourself up for success. Because that's what meal prepping does, right? It sets you up for success to achieve your health and fitness goals. And first off, Matt, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's up, man? I like jumping into this one because this is one of the topics that I feel that somebody, especially brand new or just starting out, or even people who are experienced but just struggle with it still, is if you want to pull a big lever here to give you the most leverage to have a successful week, this is it. If you can set aside the time to be able to, even if it's just an hour, I call it the power hour or the Sunday hour for most people. Or, you know, if I require somebody to do it multiple times through the week, it's the Sunday and Thursday power hour, whatever it is, like just set it aside, because I promise you, if you do this, you will lower decision fatigue, you will increase adherence and the consistency week in and week out. And all it takes is just a little bit of planning and prepping ahead of time to really set you up for success, man. So I'm excited to chat about this one, dude.
I love it, dude. And let's get right into it. So, I'll just share some stuff that I've shared many, many times. I mean, my go-to method is the fucking crock pot, right? Like in that, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. You know, I even use it for probably something that a lot of people don't. I use it for ground beef and ground turkey sometimes, where I'll just put 3 to 5 pounds of that in there. If you put like a quarter of a cup of water per pound of ground beef or ground turkey in the crock pot, use whatever seasoning or seasonings that you want to put in there. By the end of the day, it's done. Put it on low for 6 to 8 hours, or if you want to get done quicker, put it on high. Whatever approach you want to use, that's going to be good. Chicken, right? I just use the simplest thing. I put like 5 pounds of chicken in the crock pot. I find a low calorie, low sugar sauce, and I pour all that over it. Then I shred it at the end of the day, and it's shredded barbecue chicken, it's shredded teriyaki chicken, it's shredded sesame chicken. Whatever it is that you want, you can mix and match every week. It's a little bit different every week. I use the rice cooker. I make a bunch of rice. That's easy, low touch. You put it in, 15 minutes later, it's done. You got, tons and tons of rice, right? 3 cup, like just tons and tons of rice for the week, right? There's a lot of these different ways that you can do it where you're not even spending a lot of time. Like maybe your only time is chopping up the fat off the chicken, is putting it in the crock pot, is shredding it up. Like maybe when I use that, like the crock pot, I spend 15 minutes of total time. Like from, that includes putting it in, that includes cleaning it up, right? Like, and so I'm a huge fan of that as far as like the most convenient option, right? And we can kind of go like different kinds of convenience levels, but I'd say like the most convenient option is using that crock pot, is using that instant pot, which you could throw in after work, stuff in that. It's done in 20, 30 minutes, some of those things, even less potentially, right? These low touch things that are not going to take a lot of your time at all. Maybe, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes of your time. They're at the start of the day, they're done at the end of the day. They work good for the family. You can make large amounts. If you're by yourself, it's going to last you most of the week. Like you can really set yourself up for success. And the last thing I'll say on this is frozen veggies, frozen fruits. I'm huge on oatmeal. I'm huge on Greek yogurt bowls. These things are also small things. They're going to take 5 to 10 minutes to prep, right? The frozen veggies, what I've been doing too, because they're in a bag, right? Like you don't necessarily, you can do this. I've definitely done this in the past where you do warm up in the bag. I don't think that's necessarily the best thing for you, probably, to have the stuff just warming up in a plastic bag. Now, I mean, It might not be good anyway. Like who the fuck knows? But I'll pour them into like a microwavable thing, and I'll do it that way. And I think maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I think that like having like a bag actually microwave is probably not ideal, right? There's enough plastics and like antibiotics and shit and all this food that we have anyway. So like wherever I can kind of save a little bit there. But what kind of approaches do you use when it comes to meal prep?
Very similar, man. So you brought up crockpot, you brought up instapot. I would add also to that air fryer. Air fryer is a great one as well. So yeah, that. It's anything that you can take to where you can set it and forget it. I'm huge on that because most people, we don't have time. We want to set aside a little bit of time, but we want to get the biggest bang for our buck. That's the way to do it. And as Alex was talking, I don't know if you guys picked it up or not, but I think the most important thing to have prepped and ready to go, and he talked about it, but I'll just categorize it, is your protein. Because if you can do that and you can have your protein sources readily available, just ready to rock and go, we know that majority of what we reach for in addition to that is going to be very carbohydrate and fat dense. Those aren't going to be hard to get in, right? Like those can, of course, Alex mentioned the veggies, you're going to get higher quality, some fiber and some carbohydrates there. But even if you were to venture outside of that stuff, at least you have your foundational pieces of whatever you made in your Instapot, crockpot, or air fryer. Probably some lean meat sources, your chicken breast, your beef, your ground turkeys, whatever it is, your fish, like those things can all be made in those things that we talked about. And if you just did that alone, like just prepped your protein, you would be highly successful, leaps and bounds from where you're at right now. If your approach right now is going into the week and going like, oh, I'm just going to Uber Eats, or I'm just going to decide and ask the family what they want tonight, or I'm just going to go out to work with the coworkers because they invited me out. Like if that's your approach right now, if you just strictly set aside 45 minutes on a Sunday before you started your week and just got your protein ready for the next 3 days, like you would be leaps and bounds ahead of where you're at right now just by doing that alone. So if you want like the key or the unlock here, it's prepping, yes, planning ahead, but doing so in a way that takes you the least amount of time possible. And then if you are going to prep something, prep the thing that gives you the biggest bang for your buck, which is going to be your protein source. It's going to help you stay satiated for longer. It's going to give us the muscle benefits from recovery and building our muscle tissue, which is the most expensive tissue on our body. It's going to help you make better decisions because you're not going to have all these cravings from the super highly palatable stuff like the highly processed carbohydrate and fats. Like we know those are going to be simple to get in. The veggies thing is great too. I do the same thing. I do frozen veggies, very similar to Alex. Instead of cooking them in the bag, I just keep them in the bag in the freezer, and then I portion control out based on, and I just microwave them, whatever I'm going to do for that day. I usually add a little bit of water to it. I put a damp paper towel across the Tupperware, and then I just heat them up like that, usually for like anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, and boom, you got your veggies ready to go. Sauces is going to be huge, right? So I do a no sugar added barbecue sauce. I love that one. Numbers are great on it. It's 15 calories per 32 grams, which is insane. Like if you look at other barbecue sauces or similar sauces, they're usually like around 100 plus calories, sometimes around 200 calories per 32 grams. So it's finding seasonings and sauces that are calorically friendly that you enjoy too. And there's so many out there now too. I love the seasonings as well from the Kinder's ones from Costco. I get those and they have so many different ones that are great that you can experiment with. But there should be no excuse in terms of like, oh, it doesn't taste good or it takes too long to prep. Like we gave you some surefire ways there to be able to implement in your week and literally set you up for success. Like I said, if you wanted to pull the biggest lever and then you wanted to add and build in addition to that, do the protein thing like we're talking about. First, prep your protein, have that be your foundation, and then you can build momentum off of that. Then you can get creative and have like, make sure, Alex even mentioned carbohydrates with rice, right? Like you can have those ready. I do the little potato company is what they're called. They come in the fridge section in your grocery store. Just grab them. They come in a big plastic bag. I portion those out, 2 servings, 220 grams is 140 grams of carbohydrate. So, or no, excuse me, 140 calories. And it'll give you your carbohydrates portion for the day, for the meal. So it's like, and that takes uh 3 to 5 minutes to heat up as well. So it's not super time consuming with these things. These are sure quick ways. You can even buy, if you don't do the rice cooker, like Alex said, they now make individual packets that you can heat up for rice, like ready to go, right? Costco has them. They have them at Safeway, at the grocery stores. Like the sticky rice can be heated up in a minute or two. Like, dude, you just have to prep. You got to plan ahead of time, and you'll make your life so much easier.
Oh fuck, dude! I keep those on deck no matter what. I mean, honestly, like I don't always end up using the rice cooker. A lot of some weeks I do, some weeks I don't. I keep minute rice on deck. I also keep canned chicken on deck. That way if I'm in a pinch, I can still get I can still warm up canned chicken in the microwave with minute rice and frozen veggies. Get like a bowl. I could make a burrito out of it. I could add avocado, whatever. Like there's so many different ways to go about this. I would say as well, for somebody like Matt said, the protein thing is key, right? Like getting the protein in, that's generally the hardest thing for people to do, which is why I prep that. That's the big thing I focus on. But also, like if you're like, oh, I want to try different recipes, there are so many crockpot recipes. There's so many, pan recipes that you can just put a bunch of stuff in, like
Air fryer.
all, yeah, air fryer as well. And the good thing about the air fryer, I'm glad you mentioned that, is that I mean you can do other shit while you're using the air fryer. Put it in, do other things, like maybe during work you're using the air fryer. If you have like a work from home job where it's a little bit more flexible, putting it in, like going back, like you could do some meal prep where I used to just almost strictly use the air fryer for my meal prep. And that took it was a little bit more time consuming, right? You're maybe cutting stuff up a little bit more. You got to go through, if you're using your veggies and stuff for that, it's going to be a lot better, I think in the end, than using the frozen stuff, getting the fresh vegetables, all that stuff. It also, I found though that it goes so much quicker, right? So you're doing that a lot more if you do that approach. Not to say it's a bad approach, a good approach. It's a great approach. It's just a matter of, it might take more time to meal prep. It also you might be doing it more often, or as opposed to just taking a Sunday and doing something as simple as putting some chicken in the crock pot with a sauce, and then just taking 15 minutes to do 3 pounds of ground turkey on the stovetop. And then you're pretty set up for the week. And if you got a rice cooker, if you don't, it costs $20. Like super simple. Make a bunch of rice up, right? Make 3 cups of rice up, which is going to end up filling up a huge Tupperware
Massive
container,
yeah.
right? It's huge. It's going to last you a while. Like you do that, that's going to take you a grand total, like between prep time and everything, probably less than 30 minutes total. That's cleaning everything up too. And you're going to have 5 pounds of shredded barbecue chicken, 3 pounds of ground turkey, and like a whole big ass fucking Tupperware container of rice, right? That's less than 30 minutes between putting it in, letting it cook, and cleaning everything up to set yourself up for the week, where you can kind of mix and match with other stuff, and mix and match the type of veggies you're using, mix and match all these other things, right? So I think that's the big thing. And there's a lot of different ways you could even go more detailed if you're like, oh, I want to get even more ahead of the game. Maybe you're portioning that stuff out into Tupperware containers, and then you're setting yourself up where you're just warming it up in the microwave. It's all good to go. You're ready to go, right? Like that's the next level to this. Like you could go that much, where you're like, I'm going to do every day, and I'm going to pack everything for each day, and then all I have to do is take it out of the fridge and warm it up, and take it out of the fridge and warm it up, and then I'm ready to go. And so you can go as detailed as you want, but just the starting sloppy version of this is what me and Matt said. Prep your protein sources. You use convenient options for the carbohydrates, for the veggies, for all these other things, and you're gonna set yourself up for really good, just hitting your goals and not having to constantly eat out and do all these other things that are going to not only cost you a lot more money, but are also going to take away from your energy, are going to take away from your ability to lose weight or gain muscle or whatever goal you're going at right now.
The other quick option too is to add in things, because I'm always thinking what's quick, what's fast, what's convenient, but it's still going to be healthy. What's still a good option? One thing that you don't have to prep at all whatsoever is just having fruit ready. We talked about the frozen versions too, but just always having bananas or apples or blueberries on deck. Like those things, those can be your carbohydrates. Those are great sources of carbohydrates. You don't have to cook them. You don't have to prep them. Usually with some of the stuff, you just rinse them, right? You just wash them, but those are going to be ready to go. Those are quick, fast, super simple carbohydrates that you can digest, and your body's going to really respond to it. You talk about you're somebody who's low on energy, and you've more traditionally been used to like the processed sugars and things like that. You get some natural sugars in there with some good quality fiber, like you're going to feel really good. It's going to help you feel energized. You're going to have a lot of the micronutrients from those as well. You're going to feel a lot better, and you're going to get some good quality carbohydrate source. Now, if you do have to go the processed route and you're in a pinch, there are some things you could do with that too. So we talked about having things readily available when you get down to like the end of your grocery. Alex said, have the canned chicken, have rice readily available, and your frozen veggies. Like, is it going to be the most appetizing? No, but you don't have to miss a meal, right? You have those things. Same thing with snacks. So when I say snacks, I'm having things that maybe you can plug in where you're in an emergency, where you're like, okay, now I need to go to the grocery store, but I don't want to go on an empty stomach. Those are things where you can include some of the supplementation. Those things are going to help, but they're in addition to everything else that we just talked about. So if we're just talking about supplementation alone or small little snack items, I'd recommend a good quality protein powder would be great. Preferably if you can do an isolate, that'd be awesome. Any whey protein, just make sure that check the ingredients, and you're not making sure that the ingredients list is super long and it's like this huge paragraph. And in order, in sequential order, is when you're reading, if they do have a whey concentrate or a whey isolate in those first couple ingredients, those are good signs. Preferably, you'd want to see the whey isolate first, because the order that you see the ingredients in is a direct representation of the quantity or the amounts that are in each serving. So if you see whey isolate first, there's a higher percentage of that in the protein, right? So if you guys are looking, I'm not brand loyal, so I wouldn't recommend any brands to you guys, but if you are looking for quality protein, make sure an isolate is kind of like the gold standard. And then if you go into a whey concentrate, it's not that it's bad, it's just less quality than an isolate. So look for that. I'm a huge fan of protein bars, but you got to be careful. Some of my favorite brands, and you and I talked about this earlier too. Some of mine like go-tos are Quest bars. One bars are really good too. Bear Bells is a good company. And these are bars that, when I say protein bar, you guys got to be careful, because some of these are actually carb bars with like a little bit of protein in them, right? So I'm mentioning either a 1-to-1 ratio that's equivalent to protein and carb, or it's majority of protein, right? And maybe not like extreme excessive on the carbohydrate side. So those are just the companies that I like and I prefer, that I would recommend. Again, would be Quest, One Bars, and Bear Bells. Those are all good. And I think you have some too as well, right?
I like to use like a pure protein as well.
Pure
A
protein,
little bit
yeah.
cheaper, a little bit cheaper one. Solid. I honestly like for those things. Obviously, they're a lot of those are processed, pretty processed, but they're going to be. I like to even use them as like a candy bar. We were talking about this, where it's like some of them. If you can find those ones, I like Quest. I like One. I've never heard of Bear Bell, but pure protein. There's some kinds within those that taste really good to me, and they mimic like a protein or like an actual candy bar, right? So like I'll use them as like almost like a dessert as well. And so like that's kind of just maybe a higher protein dessert option. So, but yeah, I think those are really good. There's there's plenty of snacks. Like you could use those little yogurt cups, like Greek yogurt cups, as snacks.
Yep.
Like
Those
there's
Oikos Pros. Yep.
yeah, almonds. Like I'll do almonds. Obviously, that's not like a high protein, but there's going to be some good healthy fats in there. There's a lot of different stuff that you can do, and I like the frozen um, fruit, because it's generally a little cheaper than the fresh stuff, and it stays for longer, right? Like I've found in the past when I've gotten the fresh fruit, like some of the time it's like 2 days and that shit's already starting to mold, right? It's just, and I'm like, I got sick of that. When you're paying a lot of money for it, I got sick of it. I go with the frozen wild blueberries a lot. It's one of my favorite. I'll get other stuff too, but I always keep bananas on deck. I always keep avocados on deck. Just all of these different things. And you can really find a good way to be to keep it budget friendly with a lot of this stuff. I mean, I know that like eating healthy, a lot of times people will say is more expensive, but in the end, there's some good, like, solid things you can find out there. You don't have to get the most expensive thing. Like, you can choose something that's gonna hit the macros. I know for me, I'll get like the Good and Gather chicken, right? You can get like 5 pounds of it for like $20, right? It's a pretty damn good deal in my eyes.
Where's that? What
Right?
is
You
that
can
one?
The Good and Gather, it's like the Target brand chicken.
Okay.
Like, it's just the chicken breast. You got to trim a little bit more fat off that, but you get a lot. Like, it's solid, right? Like, it's not going to be the best thing you've ever had in your life. Like, as far as I'm sure there's better options out there, but like, it's like I try to save money as much as I can
It'll get the
on
job
food.
done for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, for sure. But hopefully this has been helpful. You wanna send us off here, Matt?
Yeah, man. So if this was helpful for any of you guys, or you guys were able to take some things away from this, or somebody that, like, hey, you're encouraging them to start meal prepping, they're not quite sure where to start, share this video with them, and this will be helpful for you. And hopefully it was helpful for you. And if you are somebody that already meal prepped, hopefully you can take a couple golden nuggets away from there too. The last snack I wanted to add real quick was beef jerky. That's a great snack. I take that going fishing, golfing, right? You can even have those. If you're in a pinch, you could have those shakes. The Fairlife shakes are really good too. Those are great to take on for work, you're on breaks, things like that. There's always something. If you guys can just take the time to prep and plan, you'll be extremely grateful. So we want to thank you guys. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe, stay updated. We're releasing every Tuesdays and Thursdays for the pod. So if you have any questions or suggestions, we always love to hear from you guys as well. But we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.